Hello everyone, we have started this chess calculation series where you will share your PGNs and I will make a video on it, analyzing your video bit by bit, discussing every point that you can learn through this match. E4 he has played, E5 was played. Okay, so England gambit. At this level, when you play gambits or the opponent plays gambits, you have to realize that you always should go for capture that pawn, because if you don't, then the opponent gets an upper hand. But if you dare and if you have the courage to capture the pawn and take the gambit line, opponent is always in a constant pressure to justify that sacrifice. White went on and captured the pawn correctly. Well done. And bishop c5 was played. Already you can see that the black is one pawn down, but he is trying to justify this with the compensation of lead in development. You can simply put your knight at f3 and save this pawn. You can also move out your bishop at c4 and safeguard this pawn, because entire match will be around that pawn, because black is now justifying it with the development and wants that pawn back. Meanwhile, what you have to do is to hold on with the pawn and continuing with your development. So e4 was played. Alright, so you do not want to go behind that pawn, you want to give it up, you don't want to play the gambit line and just develop. Alright, that is also acceptable, that is good, but it do not put so much pressure on the opponent. And now d6 was played. Okay, now another pawn has been given to you, you are already a pawn up, you simply take. But no, white chooses to go with bishop c4, white chooses development. White is afraid that he might go into the gambit line and fell somewhere because the opponent is prepared and is playing a gambit line. You should not be afraid. You should look at the board, look at the pieces and realize what is happening there. So whenever bishop c4 is played, you constantly think that bishop is coming to f2 at some point of time and capturing this pawn. Maybe this queen is coming to h4 and attacking this and putting you into the threat of a scholar's mate. So these are the things that you should follow in your head. As soon as you move your bishop to c4, now black gets a chance to move his queen to h4 and attacking the f2 pawn from both sides. It is very similar to the scholar's mate that white does, having a bishop at c4, and now the queen can leads to h5 going for the f7 pawn. It is very similar, but it is from the opposite colors. And now g3 was played. This is a very big blunder, because now white will simply win. This is the same method that has been used by white kind of in a scholar's mate, where the queen goes to h5, and whenever this g6 move is played, you simply lose this pawn at e5 because it is coming with a check. Opponent has tried the same thing but with the black. Before you play something like that, you should always think of development. Maybe your knight should have come to c3, safeguarding this before allowing this bishop c4 move, so that this cannot come and attack here. You always have to prepare for the moves that black can do or your opponent can do in a recent run. So g3 was played, and obviously your e4 pawn was captured. Okay, and queen to e2. So you just want to give it up and exchange the queens, but your opponent won't do it, because the main goal is not to take this pawn. The main goal is to attack your rook and be a rook up, because he has given you a pawn and is taking up a rook. So you won't be able to justify that, because you are complete rook down and will simply hunt everything in your king side and you will lose. Let's see what happened. Queen cuts h1. Okay, you are now a rook down, but you have some counter play because you can take and you have a check, but it is still losing because that check does nothing. Okay, you played this and a check has come. Oh, knight to e7 was played. Why would you be a rook up and go for a knight sacrifice? Meanwhile, what has happened in his head, that he has always been thinking about the counter play, that the check is coming, and he has planned his move altogether, that whenever he plays the queen, I will simply put my knight here, because in general we do that. This is a rare case where the pawn has reached to d6 somehow, controlling this knight, and now queen can simply capture, and that would be checkmate. Alright, you won, but this do not means you played well. This means you have to learn a lot. We will take you with this gambit line where e4, e5 was played, and then because e5 happens, bishop to c5 is played, and then e4. Instead of playing e4, you could play knight c3, because this is not under attack. Whenever it comes under attack, you start defending it. Like it plays d6. Now you can play bishop f4, because if your pawn is captured, the bishop will take and it will attack this pawn. He will have to maybe move his knight, but your piece is out. So knight c6 is again attacking this pawn. That is what I told you in the beginning, that everything will be around that pawn because black is gambited it. Knight to f3. Okay, you are again playing around this pawn. Okay, now bishop to e6 has come. Whenever I see these two pieces in one line, I simply think that do I have a pawn here that I can lead this and I will get a piece around here. But this is not the case here, and knight to e4 was played. Okay, you are again attacking this pawn. So he played bishop to f5. What does this bishop to f5 move does? Simply attacking it, but rather white would simply go on and capture this bishop. Okay, bishop taken, because c5 was, should be played, and as it is happened in the match. And knight to d2 is a very good move, because now black cannot exchange queens. Rather, you are ready to push your pawn and attack the bishop here. Now your bishop is guarded. Suddenly you will see that all your pieces are coming out and all your pieces are going at its usual places, because the pawn will go at e4, attack this bishop. Now bishop will go to c4. You will simply castle, put your rook in the center, and you will be very good, be a pawn up, and you will most likely win this match. So queen to h4 can be played again, but then simply g3. At this situation, you have to safeguard this bishop, and also after this pawn, you are getting your bishop around in the diagonal, which attacks this pawn and trying to put a triple pawn on the same line, which can be restricted by just your pawn. So queen went back to e6. After that, e4 can be played, justifying because you put your knight to d2, and now d7 was played in the match. Bishop to d7. See, you can see all the black pieces are going out, and then g5 is played because he has to attack somehow to your bishop or to your king side, because he is completely pawn down. And e6 is a good move. e6 is a very good move because you want that bishop to lure out. If he somehow captures this pawn, your queen is simply coming out and hitting it with a check. And if he takes with the bishop, then you can simply take this knight. What happens if he takes this with the queen? Simply take this pawn, and now you can see the dark colored weakness around the king. In the match, what happened? Bishop took, and then knight was captured, b cutting c6 was played, and bishop e3 suddenly going and attacking this pawn again. And now you can see white is at a very comfortable position because he will simply castle. Yes, there is a white colored weakness here, but it can simply be justified with the move like maybe c3 or knight coming out to c3. So this is not that dangerous, or the king can go and sit at g2, being safe with all three pawns. All you have to do is to go into the description, find the payment link, do the payment, and just put that payment screenshot along with your payment over the mail, and your video will be analyzed and will be uploaded on this channel.